Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm trying to predict the NHL 2025 playoffs. I do this every year. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's one of my most consistent things that I've been doing lately. So let's get right into it with round one in the West, Jets versus the Blues. I'm going to be honest, I don't see how the Jets don't win this. Top of the league right now. And obviously, there's that thing about the President's Trophy not doing well, but I just don't see them losing to the team like the Blues. I'm sorry, Blues fans, but I think the Jets have this in the bag. I'm going to say a sweep 4-0. You got to predict at least one of those. Next, we're moving on to Dallas and Colorado. Pretty even matchup here. Definitely could go either way, but I like Dallas. I know Dallas has had some injuries recently, and Colorado's been kind of on fire, but I just like Dallas. I just like Dallas for the series. I just do, and I'm going to say something small, like 5 games actually. Just all you need is 4 wins, and if they can squeeze those up, they can squeeze them up. Home ice advantage might help them out a little bit. Moving on to Vegas and Minnesota. I would not discredit Minnesota just yet. I know they're a young team. I mean, they're not as skillful, obviously, as the Vegas Golden Knights. But I wouldn't give them too much credit. I think they'll give Vegas a bit of a run for their money, going 7 games, and you never know. Minnesota could upset here, but I am going to take Vegas. They should win this. If they don't, that would be just ridiculous. Kings versus Oilers. Look, it's the same matchup every year, and the Oilers just have kept on winning. It's going to be the Oilers. Part of me wants to say the Kings. I kind of think they're maybe up this year, but I just don't see how it's going to happen when it's the same matchup and you keep losing to the same team. Guys, sometimes there's chemistry in the NHL, and that's just the way it is. I am going to take Jets in 4. I'm going to take Dallas in 5, Vegas in 7, and I am going to also take the Edmonton Oilers in 7. That puts us on to Leafs versus Ottawa. Battle of Ontario. Exciting matchup. Yes, they're the Leafs, but you know what? They did make it to the second round 2 years ago, and a team again like Ottawa, the Leafs should be here. Being, again, top of the division, they should not choke this. If they do, I think I might just have to stop watching hockey altogether. They should not choke this. This should be a 5-game series. It should not be that long. On the other hand, Battle of Florida, much longer of a series. Tampa and Florida, they're going to bang each other up. It's going to be an exciting matchup to watch. Yes, Tampa's on fire recently, and yes, Florida has some injuries, but I am taking Florida. Just with that cup run they had last year and going to the finals the year before that, Florida is definitely a playoff team this year, whereas Tampa has kind of started to decline ever since they lost to Colorado 3 years ago. Honestly, I have to keep track, but one of these teams is definitely going far in the playoffs. Spoiler alert, one of these teams is going far. It's a Florida team that's just been the canon lore since 6 years or whatever, 5. Washington and Montreal. Should go Washington. But hear me out. Montreal's going to give them a run for their money. Montreal is not going to go out in a 4 or 5 game series. It's going to be 6. It's probably going to be 7 games. 7-game series. Montreal's going to push to the very end. And I think Montreal's going to get a lot of their home game wins. I think that they have the home ice disadvantage, but their home games, they're going to win. I think the Bell Center is just going to be a big energy pool for them. And again, Montreal is that one team that for the past few years hasn't made the playoffs that often. When they do, remember that cup run in 2021? Remember in 2020 when they beat the Penguins and upset them in the playing round? I think that honestly the Canadians are that team. It was kind of the Islanders a few years ago, but the Canadians are that team that just, when they're in the playoffs, they will go for a run. And that's why I'm actually taking the Montreal Canadiens over the Caps. I know, it's crazy. It's a weird prediction. The Capitals, obviously on fire, second best overall in the league. Ovi just getting the record of most goals scored. Obviously, the Caps want to win it. If they can keep that momentum, amazing. But Montreal, man, they have that energy. They have that young talent, and I think they're just the type of team to upset. If they can keep their defense up and hold that strong Washington offense, I think they might actually be able to win here. And I think out of all the possible wild card upsets, this is the most likely. I'm going to say Minnesota's second likely, just because I just have a gut feeling about Minnesota doing well. And then Ottawa upsetting Toronto because it's Toronto. Least likely, in my opinion, for the upset wild card is St. Louis. I don't see how St. Louis can even get a game on the Jets. There, I said it. Carolina and New Jersey. I'm going to say this is really hard to predict. I think it is. I've seen a lot of people struggle with this one. Battle of the black, red, and white. Yeah, And look, they're pretty evenly matched up. Points difference, they weren't that far. If we look on the analysis sheet right here, they're pretty evenly matched. And I wouldn't honestly say that the Hurricanes are that much better than the Devils. They're obviously still somewhat more of the pick that most people probably take. But I'm going to take New Jersey. I don't think it's that surprising. Honestly, I don't know who's going to win out of here. But I'm going to say it's a 7-game series regardless. It should be 7. I'm going to say 7 for Montreal, 6 for Florida, and I'm going to go a 5-game series for Toronto. So we move on to the second round. Again, going back to the West. Jets and Stars. I'm really confident in the Jets. I know it's odd for me to be so confident in the Jets and not in the Capitals, but it's not that I'm not as confident in the Capitals as it is I'm somewhat confident in the Canadiens. That's a bit of the difference here. But Jets, I like seeing them go far. I want to see them go far. I've always kind of been a quasi-Jets fan, so maybe this is a little bit biased, but I think this is the year for them to really go far deep. They haven't gone deep since 2017, I think it was long time ago, and I think this is the year when they finally get the President's Trophy and they finally really show the league who they are. They're going to go far. They're going to go deep. I really hope they're not a President's Trophy curse type of team, right? Vegas and Oilers. Honestly, I could see again the Pacific Division completely realigning itself to be Minnesota and the Kings or whatever. More so the Kings beating Oilers than Minnesota beating Vegas, but whatever. Vegas is strong, but I do like seeing the Oilers here. That cup run last year to the finals, and then almost getting that reverse sweep on the Panthers. I think the Oilers are going to use that to just try to go as deep as they can. And I mean, that's strong offense. I just really like the Oilers in the playoffs, and I know they're one of those teams that you always kind of predict to go far, and then sometimes they do, but most of the time it's like, okay, they got out in the second round. But I'm really confident in the Oilers going somewhat deep this year, and just I don't know, let's say. So we could almost have a full Canadian conference final. What do you think about that? Well, I'm not going to predict that. I'm sorry. Toronto is getting out to the Florida Panthers. Second round. I do think this should hopefully be better than the almost sweep they had the last time they lost the Panthers in the second round, where it was they almost got swept. They got one game. I'm going to say it's a bit more easy, even maybe 6 or 7. But at the end of the day, I think the Panthers are just one of those teams. For whatever reason, the Florida teams have been hot for the last 5 years. It was Tampa, now it's Florida. I'm taking Florida out of here and moving them out. Canadians versus New Jersey. Again, I'm not so confident on this match that the Washington Capitals could totally win the Carolina Hurricanes. But I don't see either Carolina or New Jersey getting out of the second round. I think it's going to be either the Capitals, who Ovi's just pushing to break as much records as possible, as well as that strong Capital team just being a strong Capital team, or Montreal with that upset going to go as deep as they possibly can and make it an all-Canadian final. So I'm taking Montreal Canadiens. Okay. Do we get the all-Canadian final? Well, Jets versus Oilers, taking Jets. And I'm going to say Jets in I don't know, 6 or 5, I guess. I kind of always feel like picking 5 games just because I never do pick 5. So we'll pick 5. And for 4 games, I'm taking the Panthers over the Canadiens. Which actually, let me backtrack here, just make sure I did the second round predictions. Okay, so Winnipeg, Dallas, 5 games. Oilers in Vegas, 7. Toronto and Florida, 7. And I don't know, Canadians and Devils, 6. But yeah, I'm going to say 4 games. Florida sweeps Montreal. That's it for Montreal. And I'm going to say 5 games. Jets overtake the Oilers. That gives us the Jets and the Florida Panthers in the finals. Florida 3 years in a row in the finals. Who am I taking? I'm taking Florida for the second round. Obviously, you can never put your money on a Canadian team. The last 30 years, you just can't do it. I've been tempted to. I've done it. I wanted to. But at this point, I mean, this is the year for a Canadian team to win. It's 5 of the 7 teams. A lot of them good teams, a lot of them good seeds. Even that guaranteed second-round placement between the Leafs and the Sens. And 1 Canadian team in all divisions, because Montreal is playing the Metro for this year. Just because, they're not playing the Metro. They got put into the Metro playoff. Whatever. If you know what I mean. So there's a very high chance that if a Canadian team wins, it's this year. But I'm not picking that. Not picking the Jets. I do like the Jets run. I think they have a chance to make the finals. I know you're not, at least recently, you're not supposed to put so much money on the President's Trophy, but hey, I'm taking Winnipeg. I'm taking them losing to Florida in I don't know why. Let's just say 5 games. Five is my favorite number. Okay, we're just taking 5 games. I know some of my predictions are kind of silly, but whatever. And for goals, so 5 times, I don't know, like 6 goals per game is like 30. We'll just add a few extra in. You always have to. So I'm going to say 38 goals. And yes, I have done this. I've actually already submitted my bracket before, so I'm not going to resubmit this. This is the exact same copy. I just had to re-record my video. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoy. Hope my predictions weren't crazy. I know some of them might seem a little bit odd, but I tried following somewhat of more norms. Canadians is a little bit crazy, but I'm guaranteed there's always one upset per year. And I think out of all the upsets, the likeliest is the Canadians. So we're doing that. Sorry, Washington. I do kind of hope for the storyline that Ovi can do his thing, but I'm also kind of rooting for the Canadians, if you know what I mean, even though I am a Leafs fan. All right, so that is it, y'all. Check it out. I'll check you guys out at the end of the playoffs. See you soon.